Welcome back to The Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky, the third. Last time we defeated Kilika and finished up the Looking Glass. I almost forgot its name, but yeah, that kind of says something. This time, before we proceed on to the next dungeon of Chapter 6, we are going to be doing Star-Door 11. Now this one requires a trial, and for this you might notice that I've gone with a very physical party. That's because this trial consists mostly of a whole bunch of mirror vanguards, so they reflect arts. Also, the enemies here can inflict seal, so I've gone ahead and equipped seal immunity on everyone except Tita, because as people pointed out to me, the actual effect of Tita's accessories don't matter because she loses them when she goes into Orbital Gear anyway. All that matters to Tita is stat boosts, so I've just tried to stack as many stat boosts onto her as possible. And in terms of tactics, I've left room for Tita's Orbital Gear, so we're good there. Let's go. Now, I'm not going to be using the voice patch for this Star-Door because it's mostly it's very similar to the Salt Pail one. It's kind of like a report rather than being spoken by somebody, so I think it's probably better if I read this one out. It's also a fairly short one, but hopefully this battle ends up being a fairly short one for the enemy and not for us. I'm hoping that I'm not forgetting any bad status ailments these things can inflict, but I'm pretty sure Seal is the main thing to cover. I forget if Tita can blind them or not, but she might be able to, and that would be helpful. Really though, I'm just going to try and physically overwhelm them. I still think that looks like a Professor X symbol. Overcome the trial before you, then I shall grant to you a memory fragment and my blessing. Yeah, they're positioned pretty much perfectly so that if you try and go for any big area art, you're going to get a whole lot of things reflected in your face. So, let's start out with... That's arguably pretty tempting. Much of that later, though. I might want to go for Petal Dance first. And Julia and Mueller with their good chain crafts are still quite useful even now. And Kevin, because everything here is art reflective, I want to focus mainly on buffs and support with him, like things like Earth Wall. I think I'll try and go for this Earth Wall then, because most of us have our own buffs. So let's go for True Distend, which I never even used on Xin during the Kilika fight, and I probably should have. And then let's summon the Orbital Gear, which is not technically a buff, but it kind of is the biggest buff you could ever ask for. Oh, right, yeah, Smoke Missile's blind. Tita's not immune to blind in Orbital Gear form. That really sucks. Because, like, there's no way to get status immunity onto her, so she's stuck being vulnerable to blind in that state. Yeah, this is a severe problem. Because, yeah, blind in this game pretty much reduces your... Okay, they are immune to blind themselves. Pretty much reduces your accuracy to nearly zero. But with really high-level hit quartz, it's not that bad. Okay, now... I can only pull in a few of them, unfortunately. I mean, it's better than nothing, I guess. Might set them up for Thunder God kicks. Did that miss? I think it missed one of them. I didn't realize that could miss before. Okay, yeah, really need to cure that blind. Which would be a Purging Balm, yeah. S-Crafts in general are quite useful here too. Okay, do I go for that or do I go for a charge? I think I'll go for the... I was actually aiming for the weaker ones with that, but anyway, and yeah, S-Crafts don't care if you're blinded. They always hit regardless, so I'm totally safe doing this. And that is 2 of them down. In fact, you know what? Let's have Annalise go too. They also self-destruct, so, Oh yeah, she learned Supreme Piercing Wave lately, and that actually has a slightly different animation compared to the regular version, so I probably shouldn't have skipped that. I'll try and show that off a bit later. Let's see if we can finish one of them off with Gorgon Arrow, maybe? Oh, right, you're blinded, so it's probably not going to hit anyway. Yep. I appreciate you moving a little bit further back. Still can't quite get everything in Bullet Barrage, though. And I can only charge that. Yeah, let's go for a Bullet Barrage here. Okay, you're healing. I'm not really too bothered by that, especially since you're healing us. You are annoyingly close, though. So somebody's probably going to get exploded on, and it's going to be Annalise, unfortunately. Actually, it's going to be most of us. Only one of them left, so I think Kevin can probably start aiming some... Doesn't even have Cyclone Napalm, dang it. Don't know what the best single target thing I have here right now is. Let's just go for, I mean, lol, Energy Drain. Energy Drain's not great, but it's a thing that exists. And there goes that one. Please tell me Annalise is in range of the explosion. No, she is not. Good. And now it's just down to you. And I don't have any CP, and I'm blinded, so I'm just gonna use this opportunity to heal Annalise. And yeah, there's Energy Drain, by the way. Still healing rather than going for Moonlight Madness. And at this point, we just whittle down your HP. And then miss horribly with Xin. Okay, finally I can start using Charge. Also knocked you back. Artita's not strength buffed anymore. Was she ever strength buffed? I'm not sure, but I guess you can go ahead and just use a Dark Matter EX up there. This is why I didn't actually remove the Crimson Eye from Kevin, because at least magic is useful against this thing. Oh, you make more of them. I forgot you did that. Right, let's just focus you down a little bit then. World Shaker. That was that art, yeah, this is why I'm going for Seal Protection. But yeah, that was the art that, not art, but like the ability that one of the monster, like that giant catfish monster used back in Sky SC as a monster extermination request. Sorry, Annalise. But it had to be done. Let's keep you a little further away. It's getting pretty close to being done. Xin can't quite reach just yet. More World Shaker. Oh no, you muted Tita. What a tragedy. I know I use that joke way too much, but it's just funny. I actually have range to charge, wow. And she jumps back to her starting position too. It's pretty close to being the perfect craft, actually. It's effectively long range. It's as powerful as most S-crafts. And I want Annalise to have an S-break, because otherwise she's probably gonna die to Earthshaker, and actually now might be a good time for Spear of Loa. This is kind of disproportionate retribution against just a random Door Guardian, but oh well. So like people debate over over one of the people know that it's may 1,000 thorns adorn your flesh with despair, but the line after. Okay, his victory quote doesn't change if he wins with that. The line after is like, may you be as something helpless and alone, but people haven't figured out what that is. And I tried, but it's impossible to turn off sound effects in battles in this game without also turning off voice acting, so I can't tone down the loud background sound effects about S-Craft and actually hear what he's saying. You have overcome the trial, thus I shall grant to you a memory fragment and my blessing. And actually, I think that's the last door with a trial. All of the rest just require specific characters. An investigative report on Phantom Thief B, his crimes, his history, and his true identity. Imperial Chronicle investigative team. I like that, persons of uncertain true colors. And and also that ridiculously clickbaity looking piece of text down there on that weekly edition Liberl news service. Phantom Thief B has quite the lengthy and productive career in thievery in the Empire, as the amount of records we have been able to find on his crimes proves beyond a doubt. From numerous paintings held in the Imperial Art Gallery, to a septium crystal held in the Empire's customs warehouse, to even a cutting-edge tank held in an Imperial Army research facility. Nothing is truly safe when he desires to steal it. His conquests aren't limited to inanimate objects. He has been guilty of pretending to be a military officer and eloping with the wife of a marquis on one reported occasion. Yet, and this is perhaps the most baffling part, there is no concrete evidence to suggest he has profited from his exploits. Rather, the objects stolen usually end up in places so bizarre their owners are liable to faint upon hearing about them. In other cases, they are transformed into mirror, which is then rained down from the sky in areas largely inhabited by those less fortunate. Hearing this, one might be led to think him a vigilante thief who takes from the rich and giving to the poor. I think that's a typo, but make no mistake, the truth is not so simple. The wife of the Marquis discussed earlier is a fine example of that. As of this writing, it has been little over half a year since the elopement took place. Since then, she has remained unaccounted for. Many of the items stolen by him may return to the public eye in some fashion, but not all. Between his eccentric techniques and bizarre behaviour regarding the objects he steals, it might appear as though his thefts are purely whims and nothing else. Upon studying the overall picture and reviewing the objects, and indeed people, in play, you begin to see they all have one specific thing in common. Take the artwork stolen from the Imperial Art Gallery, for example. Each of them were works of pure genius, painted by a master of their craft, but they gained a reputation for being too complex for the target audience of such works, the nobility, and were shamefully stored away instead of placed on display. Similar could be said of the Septium Crystal. Known for its unparalleled beauty, after being seized by customs, it was sealed away in the warehouse and doomed never to be admired by human eyes again. The tank again is one more example, with its promising development cut short. Rather than be put to good use, it was left collecting dust. And as an aside, the case of the Marquis's wife does contain some striking similarities. Despite marrying her, he devoted most of his attention to his concubines and barely spared a thought for her. In conclusion, we can now see that the underlying motive for his actions is finding objects of beauty that have been abandoned by the world and freeing them from their foolish owners. No matter how the world may see his crimes, his motive is clear. The truth of that is evident in the cards he leaves before committing his crimes. This is the so-called liberation of beauty mentioned upon each of them. Phantom Thief B steals not for money, but for an ideal he believes in. And it is in this fact, we believe, are clues to his true identity. A number of valid theories have come about on the face behind our famed thief. Unfortunately, they're all as lacking in conclusive proof as they are numerous, and so it is impossible to say whether any of them are actually correct. To complicate matters further, we now even have deranged individuals coming forward pretending to be him and allowing themselves to be captured by law enforcement. That is not to say, however, that none of the theories circulating are at all plausible. Here we will introduce 3 such theories which have developed significant followings, and may not turn out to be too far from the truth. Theory 1. Amorous con artist X. X's personal history. X is known for his exceptional skill as a con artist, having faked his own identity in order to engage in romantic relationships with many noblewomen. He was as handsome as he was capable, and he was exceptionally proud in nature as well. Born to a poor family in the temperate South, he became used to stealing in order to make ends meet from a young age. According to testimony from a companion of his at the time, he was never once caught for such thefts. The reason X converted from being a common thief to a con artist is believed to have stemmed from falling in love with a noblewoman of much higher social standing than he. The rule of the aristocracy was absolute in the country he called home, and blessed romances between those of different classes unthinkable. With that in mind, he resolved to create a false identity in order to make his dream possible. Following his first rousing success, he came to do the same on a myriad of other occasions, indulging in one forbidden affair after another. It was a mere 10 years ago that he was arrested on suspicion of identity fraud, but he performed a miraculous escape from prison. Ever since then, his whereabouts have remained unknown. Thoughts. Both X's peerless skills as a thief and his interest in forbidden romances with noblewomen sound remarkably like what we know of Phantom Thief B. Also worth noting is that despite using his abilities of deception to court those of vast wealth, he displayed virtually no interest in their fortunes. That is to say, he gained no financial benefit from his actions whatsoever. Instead, he simply lamented that he was unable to indulge in them because of something as trivial as his social class. We conclude that this attitude bears a striking resemblance to the thief's own views on beauty. Theory 2. Tragic artist Y. Y's personal history. Y was an artist with a rather tragic past. Born to a middle-class family in the north, he was hired by an influential aristocrat to be their own personal artist, producing many a stunning piece of work. However, it was later discovered that wasn't all he produced. On the contrary, he was also responsible for a number of counterfeit pieces. The one who hired him sought to profit through ill means thanks to his work, and so he created such counterfeits under the noble's instructions. One day, however, Y suddenly left the noble's service. The reasons remain unknown. This is where his tragedy begins. Immediately after leaving his client behind, Y received a terrible piece of news. His lover, the daughter of a respected family, had been killed in a traffic accident. While there is no evidence to prove as much, it is rumoured that the noble may have had a hand in her death. Y was only spotted once more at his lover's grave before forever disappearing from the public eye. To those who knew his history, he became known as the truly tragic artist. Several years later, the noble was murdered. Thoughts. The story of Y still has several unsolved mysteries surrounding it and has invited much speculation, both of which have likely led to the theory that he and Phantom Thief B are one and the same. Those aren't the only reasons, naturally. Phantom Thief B has been known at times to try and dispose of counterfeits, believing them to be false beauty. This has led some to believe that Phantom Thief B may be attempting to rid the world of counterfeits that he himself created. Lending further credibility to this is the discovery that the forgeries disposed of by Phantom Thief B were indeed the works of Y. Theory 3. Skilled martial artist Z. Z's personal history. The story of Zed is significantly different from the other two potential identities we have proposed here, making this an unusual, but still plausible, possibility. Zed was born in the Far East as the son of a famed military family. He was an attractive, delicately built young man, but he was far more skilled at martial arts than his frame would have suggested, being blessed with great natural talent. He is also said to possess a keen, sharp mind, and there was a mild air of arrogance about him too. Zed was indeed blessed in nearly every way. He came from an imported family, he had skill, he had looks, and as a result, he came to feel bored with the world around him. He hardly kept such thoughts to himself. In fact, he often voiced his complaints to anyone within earshot. These complaints persisted until one day, he simply disappeared, telling no one where he was going and leaving nothing to suggest his next destination. Thoughts. Much of this theory is based on the idea of geniuses being eccentric by nature. There are some who say that the fighting style of Zed has some resemblance to the peculiar skills used by Phantom Thief B, but in terms of credibility, this theory is barely a cut above many other similarly unusual suggestions. Still, the idea that the man beneath the mask is one from the East is certainly an interesting and exciting one, leading many to wish it were true, even if they find themselves doubting it actually is. That brings us to the end of outlining three very different theories. Could X, Y, or Z be the true identity of our famed Phantom Thief? Or is the truth perhaps something else entirely? The only way we will know for sure is to hear the truth from the man himself. Of course, whether we can trust anything he says is a discussion for another time. Postscript. After this article was first published, we received a card believed to be from Phantom Thief B himself at our office. The contents of the card are as follows. The truth of my identity is already within your grasp. My number reveals all. Judging by this, it is believed that one of the three theories proposed is the true identity of Phantom Thief B. That said, uncovering the meaning behind his words has proven to be a trying task. Will one valued reader be able to step forward and solve what we cannot? Only time will tell. That's the end of that side story. We receive the Phantom Thief's Cape and 10,000 Mirror. That door, I have conflicting feelings about that door, but first I want to show what the Phantom Thief's Cape is, because this is what I've been alluding to for a while. Agility plus 20, move plus 3, drop rate up. If you stack this with Josette's remote ability, as well as the Luck Quartz, you can do some things when it comes to farming, and in fact, I actually, before I end this video, want to just show off an example of that right now. I said earlier that we would have easier access to farming the enemies in Chapter 5 for their amazing armor drops later, and this is what that is. So for this, you want to use somebody with a full field hitting S-Craft, but I think Agate is the best one to use for this because of his Wild Rage craft. And as for everyone else, I'm just going to take people who I think need leveling up a little bit, maybe. And Reese can at least provide some CP recovery support there. So what you want to do is you want to equip the character who is doing this with the Phantom Thief's Cape, and then also the Luck Quartz. There's the Luck Quartz. Also, make sure their weapons are up to date. They need as much strength as possible. So also equip the Tiger Heart in the other slot, and if possible, I need to upgrade Agate's slots because he needs a Ruby Gem. Now that we have this set up, we're going to warp to, actually not so much the 5th plane, we're actually going to warp to Sundoor 4. Save first, and then we want, I think I don't have Haze anymore. Okay, but we save first, then encountering 4 of them at once is quite good, so okay. I want that to kill everything. Do I have any strength buffing food, because that's also useful? I guess I can use a Fried Phoenix. Then, Agate S-Break. Remember that the increased drop rates only apply to the person who actually gets the kill. I also forgot to put on Josette's remote ability there. But we did get one reflective robe out of that, even without her remote ability. So let's go ahead and put her remote ability on. Then we warp back to the door, and that will respawn that enemy. So here we get a preemptive attack. Agate uses Wild Rage 2 to get himself ready for another S-Break. And let me just see if this is enough to finish off all of them. If not, I'm gonna... Okay, it is enough to finish off all of them. Good. I don't need to use any more CP buffs. But yeah, okay, Josette's remote ability makes a lot of difference there. We seem to have gotten drops from all 4 of them that time. Also, this method gives you a lot of water and time seepeth too. Of course, all 4 drops with a Tier All Balm. Then, once you're out of battle, heal Agate. And then repeat the process. Wild Rage, and then S-Break. Another reflective robe. That's kind of bad luck that I'm not getting kitty suits, but this is basically the idea behind this whole grinding method. This is how I like to farm those item drops. If anyone else has any other methods that might be better, please tell me, but like this is my personal preference for doing this. I farmed for a little bit here, just so I could show the other armors you can get out of this, just to explain why these are so worthwhile. We already had the Reflective Robe, which is one of these gimmick armor sets that gives an enormous amount of arts defense. I also picked up the Knight Armor, which gives a massive amount of physical defense at the cost of a lot of arts defense, agility, and -5 speed and -1 movements. But that defense that it gives can be worth it in some situations if you just want somebody to tank damage. But the real prize here, and the real thing that you really want to farm for, is the kitty suits. The other stats are good, don't get me wrong, but the real prize here is +30 speed. That is downright ridiculous. On Nightmare mode, if you are having trouble, farm for kitty suits. They will make your time so much easier. Stacked out with the heat-resistant boots, you don't even need to farm for the kitty slippers, because heat-resistant boots are better. And combine that with the Fool's Emblem. And look at how much speed you can get on one character. Agate does not even have an Onyx gem, by the way. And he's not even like the fastest character out there. The speed you can get on people with this full setup is completely absurd, and it can make some of the late game bosses a joke even on Nightmare. Remember as well that you can stack 2 Fool's Emblems on the same character if you want to farm the arena for them. I would not recommend it if you're on anything below Nightmare and you don't want to feel cheap, because this, in my opinion, is very, very broken. And after I've shown that, now I'm going to talk about my thoughts on that Star Door, and as I said, I have very conflicted feelings on that Star Door. I like the idea of getting more insight into mysterious backstories for Phantom Thief B or Enforcer number 10, Blue Blanc. But I wish that part at the end wasn't there, and let me just go over why. So that part at the end saying my number is the key. His number being 10 or X, and you might think that's an obvious clue, but remember that the general public doesn't realize that he's an enforcer, so they wouldn't know that he has a number in an organization. 10 in Roman numerals being X, it implies that Amorous Con Artist X is Blue Blanc's true identity, and this is the part that does really annoy me, there's a later door that outright confirms this. I personally, and this is just me, but I personally think it would have... This is a very cliche comparison, but I would have preferred if this was like the Joker from Batman, and they left his backstory ambiguous. I like the idea of having those 3 backstories, and it being unclear which of those was true, and it being left up to the player to decide which of them, if any, is true. And I know they say that, we can't trust his word on the matter if he does even come out and say it. Well, that's the thing. They contradicted that because there's a later door that outright confirms that X is his true identity. So, I wish that wasn't the case, and I wish it was left ambiguous. And I've heard other people give that opinion too. Not saying that makes me, right or anything like that, but I'm just saying that just find that interesting. But I still have a personal headcanon about Blue Blanc, assuming that the first backstory is true. Now, this is pretty much a given, considering they're not searching for a person named Blue Blanc, but I don't think that was his birth name. My theory, and again this is just a personal thing, is that Blue Blanc was one of his false identities, and that for some reason or another, he decided to become Blue Blanc permanently. My other headcanon is that this identity is symbolic. I personally think that Blue Blanc really hates the Erebonian nobility, possibly because of that class difference romance he experienced. And that his Blue Blanc persona, with its over-the-top dress and foppish accent, is meant to be a ridicule of the Erebonian nobility, and that's why he acts the way he does. There's nothing in canon to suggest this is true, this is entirely a fan theory, but it's just what I personally believe. So, yeah, tell me what you think about that, whether you would prefer if it was ambiguous, or whether you like the fact that it's confirmed. And that is that Star Door done. Next time, we will be returning to Sun Door 3, and doing the hard arena, where we will gain a little bit more insight into a certain Mind Screw thing that doesn't really make it any less Mind Screwy. I will see you all then.